What's up fam, it's All Clouded and we are doing a different video today because we are 1 year old. I was actually seeing another member of the community's post on YouTube and I was sitting there listening, and then he mentioned that I was a year old and I was like, man, I got lost in the V27 update and I fully forgot that we're not quite a boomer in the tower community, but we're getting older now. So I thought, you know, what a perfect opportunity to switch things up and actually go through the game. So, been gaming for, you know, I was in there when this inception of gaming, fam. Man, Sega, space parlors, I don't know what you call them in your country, we call them spaceys here. Pinball machines, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, all that sort of stuff. PlayStation was invented when I was a little girl, fam. Game Boys, I remember saving up for like 2 months of my chore money just to get a Game Boy. The Game Boys used to have yellow screens. You used to have to bite the battery just to squeeze a little bit more juice out of the life. So I played all sorts of games, went heavy into FPS. God damn, I lost my soul to FPS. Then I eventually moved to MMOs, ARPGs. ARPGs is my typical, that's my go-to. You know, I love ARPGs. I was coming off the back of a Korean ARPG, you know what it's like. They're a little bit smaller audience, heavy pay to win. And I just felt like my time was just not getting respected as the player base shrunk further and further. Rather than trying to draw more players in, they just squeezed the life out of the ones that were left. And I was just like, that's me. So I was looking for a game. Wasn't really sure what to play. Had a few on my roster. PoE 1, PoE 2, you know, that sort of thing. And I noticed that while everyone's smoking, from the management team, they're all playing silly little games like Candy Crush and that. So I tried to look. Well, didn't really do it for me, fam. You know, the Farmvilles, those sorts of things, not really my sort of cup of tea. And then I was going through Facebook, and I rarely go through Facebook, and randomly, my Uncle Fuds, he put an ad on Facebook. So if you don't know who my Uncle Fuds is, he's the OG. He's the Wizard of Oz of this game. That's my uncle, although he would disagree that I'm his nephew. But he put a post up. Looked pretty cool. What's this, you know, a bit of a different twist to a tower defense game. Killing shapes. That's an odd one. You know, you're not used to seeing them. Tower defense games, you're killing goblins and all sorts of things. You know, what is it? Like those spacey kind of tower defense games. So I thought, you know, I'll give it a whirl. And because of the mindset of coming from MMOs and that sort of thing, man, I downloaded it. And I just went again and again and again. So after maybe a day or two, I was like, I wonder what this game looks like in its, like, you know, in its peak male form. So I went on YouTube and I found 3 YouTubers, Zedin, Crowbar, and Greenie. And man, their towers look cracked as. And I looked at my poor little tower. The poor little tower was like 3 damage, 10 health, and I was like, I am not stopping until I get a tower like that, like hands down. So, yep, what is it? It's a tower defense game. Probably slightly different to maybe a tower defense game that you may or may not have played in your time. A lot of them run on energy systems because it is a phone game, you know, even though it's playing on the computer at the moment. So they run on energy systems, they run on this and that and this and that, and most of the systems, they're pretty basic. This is a tower defense system on bloody roids, fam. If you blood tested the tower idle defense, it is juiced. So there's a number of systems. Far too much to go over. If you are looking at getting into this game, I'll probably just end up confusing you. But it's pretty damn simple. You learn it really fast. Turn the game on, start it up, die, buy stuff, rinse and repeat. So it's a tower defense game like what you used to, with that heavy incremental element, and you learn that pretty fast. You start doing a few things and you're like, how long is that going to take? And you turn around and you go, damn, 20 hours. And you think 20 hours is long. And then you start learning really fast when you go, okay, it's Monday today. If I do XYZ, I should have it by Thursday. And then it kind of primes you up for kind of really what you're in for. So there's multiple tiers, or you'd probably see it like levels to the game. And then it's kind of an interesting system in a way that you farm to get currency, so that you can farm to get more currency, so that you can farm harder. I farm to farm harder. I think that's the name of the game. Incrementally gain incremental. Just again and again. So, what's the general player base in this game? So it's very common to see people 30s, mid 30s up. Because if you think about it from a genre of games, you got your big genres, and then when you're veering off to the side a bit, to the outskirts, and you're going for a tower defense game or an incremental game, the field gets a hell of a lot more narrow. And especially once you design a game that has systems like this. But the thing with incremental games, I actually seen a video not long ago, is that incremental games tend to have the highest retention rate, because there's just something about them where, like, as long as the game is open, as long as the game's playing, as long as things are moving, you are always progressing. And it suits people, around the more of the, are we adults? Are we even adults? You could see why younger audience, I'm not saying there's not younger players that play this game, but you can see why they'd probably be like, what? I have to do that and I don't get to upgrade it for 6 months? What the hell, Uncle Fuds? You can see why more of a patient audience plays this game, which tends to bring in, a few more older people. So it's suitable for people that have got time, not time to spare, because you're not, like, say for example, if this run goes for 12 hours, I'm not sitting there playing it for 12 hours. It's the ultimate trick in the book. When you first learn to ride without training wheels, and then you see your older cousin riding with no hands? This is what this game is. Look mum, no hands. It's playing itself. Look, no hands. People get angry at work when I say that. They go, what the hell is even the point of the game? Bro, don't you understand? Bro, I farm currency so I can buy things to farm harder, bruv. What do you do when you're playing it? Best thing, I don't have to play it. It plays its bloody self. So, sorry, veering off track here. Stupid one-liners. So, it suits people that are a little bit more patient. It suits people that like theory crafting. If you're really into MMOs and ARPGs and you like the theory crafting elements, you like that sort of stuff, you definitely should probably give this a jam. It also doesn't mean, though, that if you don't like it, or you can't be bothered doing that sort of stuff, theory crafting, crunching numbers, pulling out Excel sheets, that sort of thing, then it doesn't mean that you won't enjoy this game too, because you can make it as AFK as possible. And if you are still looking to min-max, well, there's other people. I don't make any spreadsheets, but a whole bunch of people in the community do. The community that play this game is by far, especially for a niche game like this, by far the best community that I've ever come across, straight up. took a while for me to get onto the Discord and that, and when I finally did, I asked some, you know, what I'd say, oh gosh, these are bloody noob questions, but like the fact that people will tap in, jump into the channels in Discord where, you know, a lot of the newer players will be asking stuff, and even though they might answer the same question 10,000 times a day, you know, well, what's 10,001? They know what it's like. You learn pretty fast when you play this game. Once you start saving for specific currencies, and it might take you a week or so to get a certain amount to buy an upgrade, you sit there and you go, oh, I don't want to make this up because it just took me a week to do that. And then you reach out to a whole bunch of players, and people are super, super helpful. Massive, passionate community that's behind this game. A lot of, tools, a lot of stuff, a lot of research, you know, everything based around it. There's this massive community drive behind it, and a massive backing in that. And it's super cool to see, to be a part of, to know some of these guys, and, you know, to be on a journey with them too. It's been a real cool experience. Most of the time when I play other games, I'll just read up stuff or what the community does, but, you know, I won't necessarily sit there for an hour or two in a voice chat with them and, you know, talk about all sorts of theory crafting. And then a lot of time we don't even talk about this bloody game. You know, we talk about all sorts of different things. So the progression systems. There's plenty of progression systems. There's enough bloody progression systems in this game that the latest update come out, and I'm probably not even going to touch it for another 2 years. So I don't really see it as, oh well, a new system come out, oh well that sucks because I'm not going to, you know, I'm not up to that stage to play it. I see it as, it's kind of like a roadmap. I can see what's coming ahead of me, and I can see that there's still X amount of times, worth of updates or systems and stuff ahead of me that, you know, one day I'll be able to play. So when we talked about that, you farm stuff to get stuff so that you can farm stuff harder. Catch-up mechanics. So the biggest currency in this game is not a currency that you can buy with real cash. It's not a currency that you can farm it per se. The biggest currency in this game is actually time. The longer you can have this game up and running, and the more that you can squeeze out of a 24-hour period. If you think about it like making juice, the more juice you can squeeze out of that orange, the more you're going to benefit. So you learn pretty fast. When you do a run, it's like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, that's crazy. I did that for 4 hours, bro. 4 hours is a snack, fam. 24 hours, you learn straight away. I killed a phone playing this bloody game, and then as soon as I could figure out how to get it on my PC, boom, she was on there. And then I turned around, it was actually my son. He was like, "Wow, when's the last time you updated your PC?" I said, "Oh, I don't even know." He was like, "Dude, you haven't even turned it off for like 6 or 7 months." And I was like, "Holy crap." So I actually found another phone, so I bounce and share the load. Rah. What I'm trying to say is, the longer this game is playing, you know, look, mum, no hands. I'm not upgrading, I'm not doing anything. But the longer this game is open, it's playing, you're killing cubes, the more benefit you're gonna see out of it. Because time's a massive currency in this game. We're all limited by the same constraint. So they introduce catch-up mechanics. They are very... Like, even though Uncle Fuds is my uncle, he doesn't spill me any secrets. He keeps those secrets. He only tells Auntie. I'm not privy to it. Every now and then I'll hit up Nan. Nan, got any secrets about V28? She won't tell me either. But there are catch-up mechanics and little things that they add into the updates that, you know, might generate you more currency, might smoothen out the edges as far as the the linear line of progression goes or whatever. But they're also conscious that there's a whole bunch of vets and there's a whole bunch of players that, you know, have put in the time, put in the real world money in that, and they don't want to just, you know, it'd be wrong of them if they just throw it away so people can turn up, start the game yesterday and be already where those guys are today. You know, it'll be detrimental to the vets of the game. But they do recognize certain things and they add some stuff in. Perfect example is if you're looking at all the squares on the screen and you look at the ones that look like a random triangle, that came out in a specific update, and that was the currency that they drop is specific to a speed up of a certain system in the game, and the reason is to just catch up people on time that they'll never be able to, make it a little bit more enjoyable for them. And they wouldn't want to create too many bottlenecks in the game. If you get too much new people catching up too fast, then you're bottlenecking certain portions of the game where too many players are. You know, you kind of need it a little bit more spread out than that. Now PvP, believe it or not, fam, there is bloody PvP in this game. I know, how the hell do you PvP? I remember when I first thought about it, I was like, hey, like I don't even do the tournaments. Like when I first got this game, I was like, what the hell's a tournament? Why the hell would I do that? Whoa, do I have to fight other players? Will they steal my stuff? They gotta come and beat me up and steal my stuff. But exactly what you're seeing now, this is a farming run. There's tournaments where you're basically doing the same thing. They create certain conditions or, you know, things that you have to solve within the run. As far as killing, how you're going to kill the stuff and stay alive. And then whoever goes the furthest in the wave count basically wins. That's the PvP. Now, going back to the community, it's a massive reflection on how cool the community is. That people will, in the competitive environment, even though they might stumble across you, they'll help you and teach you and stuff that you can adjust in your build or the way that your tower is set up, even though you might be competing against them, which is very rare in a game that has PvP, and especially rare in a game that has PvP where you can purchase power with money. That goes on to the next subject. Pay to win. Is this game pay to win? Well, if you consider paying for power pay to win, then yeah, of course. But it's a different system than what I've kind of seen in a lot of other games as far as pay to win goes. So the devs, don't know whenever it was, it's kind of just been this way since I played this game, but they put a cap on how much of a specific currency that you can buy at a time. I think it refreshes every month, and that's just what they decided to do. And I mean, I suppose the good thing is that you don't get some sort of, I don't know, Chinese billionaire or a Russian oligarch come in and drop $1 million for fun, get top of the charts, and then go, this sucks, I quit. It's kind of like a staggered approach to it. Now, the good thing about the currency that you purchase with real money is that there's no loot boxes, bro. The PTSD from grinding and then spending real life money on loot boxes is just absolutely unreal. Man, if I saw loot boxes in this game and I'd have to spend so much time to unlock something on a specific ultimate weapon or something, I probably wouldn't even be playing it. I'd be like, nah. Like, you know, when you get the currency, what you're buying is what you're buying. And I think because of that, from a monetary standpoint, and especially when people might plan out X amount of days, weeks, or months in advance, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to upgrade this first, I'm going to upgrade the next thing. If that was somehow tied to loot boxes, I don't think this game would be anywhere near where it is today. But is it pay to win? Yes, there's pay to win. How does it affect you? So, like, a lot of people will say, if you want to be competitive, then yeah, you got to spend money, and that's that's kind of the general gist of most pay-to-win games. You know, you're either going to be a whale, or you're going to be that you're going to be that little fish that eats the turds out of the whale's teeth. So you're either the whale, or you're the whale's tucker you're his breakfast. It's not really like that in this game, in a way that how do I explain it? So yep, if you want to be competitive, you have to spend, but does it really affect you? Yeah, sure, it might mean some people kick you out of a placement, and you know, in turn means you don't get a better reward. But look, I haven't really cared about it. I mean, some people might go super deep into it. I'm also not underplaying it. You know, that you might be like, damn man, I put in all this work, you know, as free to play, and I'm just constantly getting nowhere from the tournament standpoint. If that's what you are chasing, then yeah, you might get frustrated. Myself personally, I kind of set the goal. I'm not sure if tier 18 was invented when I started this game. It may or may not have been, but I always kind of said, once I get to tier 18, 4,500, which is basically like, it gives you a reward for it. I was just like, okay, that's probably me. And it's probably going to take me, I don't know, whatever, 2 years, a year or two to get there. And I kind of just set that benchmark in that. And that may or may not shift, kind of like a is what it is kind of thing. So that's kind of where my goal is. If you are planning on starting now and trying to be like, I want to be the bestest towerist person in the world, so that Uncle Fuds can be my godfather, then yes, probably not happening. There's always a bigger fish, whatever, you know the yarn. But then it also, again, we have to factor in the time. Other players have been playing for years in that. But yeah, I don't really let it. I feel like personally, if you wanted to pay to win, it's probably one of the best systems to pay to win, because you know what you're actually purchasing, and it's not gated behind ridiculous drop rates of a loot box. But then if you want to go free to play or be a light spender, yeah, it's not much. It's whatever. I don't know. You kind of have to play it to make your own judgment of that. Some people get super wound up about it, but you'll find that a lot of the next to no spenders / never spenders, like full free to play and even low spenders, it just doesn't really bother anyone. People are just focused on the upgrades that they want to do for their tower, and so on and so forth. So my final thoughts on the game. Look, it's good enough that I actually started uploading videos to YouTube. Might be about 30 something videos into it that I've been uploading. Super dig it. Just something that can passively play in the background. Like the community. I like the progression system. I know there's always something that I have to work for. Like, for example, something that I'm working for at the moment, I'm about 12, maybe 16 weeks away from getting. And I just accept that, hey, look, by 2026, I might have that thing that I want. And it's just a part of the process, because I understand by looking at other players in the game that are, 2, 3, 4 years into the game, that, okay, this is a real slow burn. Yeah, so that's it. I think I've rambled on enough. That's my thoughts. How do I see the game going in the future? Yep, steady growing, doing its thing. I think the devs, I think there's a lot that the devs would like to do, but just as much as progression is has a constraint around time, they're constrained around time too. They've got to fix this, do that, do X, Y, Z, and there's only a certain amount of them, and there's only a certain amount of hours in the day. And I feel like the dev team do a good job. They fix a bunch of bugs. Maybe they create 1 or 2 bugs in the process, but then they fix it, You know, they come up with some just cool little random ideas about stuff to do, and you know, different stone sinks and coin sinks, and the reason why they want to sink that is so that you sink more time into the game, and then you just go around and around and around. And I feel like this game store has a lot of legs left in it, and it's enough that I know that wherever I choose to set the goalposts for the stopping point and when I want to wrap it up in this game, I know that there's plenty of content left for myself. And if you are just starting out, there is a butt ton. You know, stick to it. You might hit some kind of, wouldn't call them roadblocks, but you might hit some bumps in the road and be like, oh man, I feel like I'm not getting anywhere. Just remember, as long as the game is running, you're in a better spot than you were yesterday. You might not progress as fast as you want in specific areas of the game, but you will still be progressing. You just have to stick to it. That's kind of my final send-off. So if you like what you see, you know the drill, fam. Like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification button so you can see when the next video is coming out. And as always, keep it cloudy, fam.